If you clicked on this video, you don't need me to tell you about Lorcana, the Disney trading card game that is slowly gaining popularity in the trading card game market. What I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be ranking every Lorcana card, the rares, the super rares, and the legendaries. We're going to start with chapter 1, then we're going to go all the way to the current set, which is Azurite Sea. I've never made a tier list before, so this is how this is going to work. I'm going to put these cards into one of 6 tiers. S tier means that the card is a must play. No matter what deck you're building, you should be having this card included in your deck. A tier means the card fits in most situations and is considered pretty good. B tier means that the card is good, but it doesn't fit into any deck meta. C tier means I can either take it or leave it. D tier means that it's an ultra specific synergy. You could include it in a specific deck, but there are usually better options. And then F tier means it ain't worth it to add to your deck, period. It's just one of the worst cards in the game. We have a lot of cards to get through, so let's not waste any more time. Let's start off with our first card, which is Hades, King of Olympus. This is an 8-cost uninkable with 6 strength and 7 willpower in quest for 1 lore. He shifts for 6, and his ability, Sinister Plot, says this character gets +1 lore for each other villain character you have in play. So before we do anything else, let's look up how many villains are in the game at the moment, and I'm looking for villains in Amber. So looking at Dreamborn.inc, villains in Amber, I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, not including that Hades. So there's 9 villains in Amber. Now there are a bunch of other colors that have a lot of villains as far as I can see. Ruby and Emerald or Amethyst is probably your best bet. But at the same time, if we're just playing Amber, there's not a lot of villains to synergize with. It's definitely one where you have to be ultra specific with it. So with that in mind, I'm going to put Hades into D tier. Now, let's move on to the next card, which is another Hades. Hades, Lord of the Underworld. This is a 4-cost uninkable with 3 strength and 2 willpower, quest for 1 lore, with the ability Well of Souls. When you play this character, return a character card from your discard to your hand. This was pretty powerful, especially with set 1. This was a pretty powerful card to have. I think at one point it was like $1 on TCG Player. Now it's only 10 cents, but regardless, this one's still pretty freaking okay. Like, it's uninkable, which brings it down some points, but I don't know. I can see some people still including it in a deck or two. So I'm going to put him as a B. I think if you're really hardcore in, like, if your deck is built around bringing characters back from the grave, I think this would be a decent option to include. Maybe in like maybe with the Amber Sapphire, where you can use like a Fishbone Quill or a Tipo to put a character, an uninkable card, into your Inkwell. Next we have Lilo, Making a Wish, or as I put it when I first started playing Lorcana, that bitch Lilo. This is a 1-cost uninkable with 1 strength, 1 willpower, and quest for 2. This was the basis of Hyper Aggro. I remember this card being like $15 when the game came out. You had to have her in your deck if you were playing Hyper Aggro of any kind. Now, you can take it or leave it, but it is still a very good card. I think the only thing that kind of brings it down is that there's no, like, we don't have a shift Lilo yet. I think if we did have a shift Lilo, this would be like an A tier. As it stands, I'm gonna put it in B. A pretty good vanilla, no abilities, just very strong early game lore. Next up is Moana of Motunui. This is a 5-cost inkable with 1 strength and 6 willpower and quest for 3. With the ability We Can Fix It, whenever this character quests, you may ready your other princess characters. They can't quest for the rest of this turn. So now let's look up princesses in Amber. And here we have a lot more presence than the villains. You have some really freaking good cards in here. Like, you have the 4-cost Ariel that can sing. That can sing for 7, sorry. You have Snow White Well-Wisher, and you can protect her. You have the Gifted with Healing Rapunzel. You have the Gentle and Kind Cinderella that you can use her for her ability to remove 3 damage from a chosen character. That's pretty powerful. Same thing with the Rapunzel Sunshine, where you can insert it to remove up to 2 damage from a chosen character. So there's a lot you can do. There's a decent amount you can do with Moana. You would definitely have to build your deck around the princesses. Your best bet is to go Amber Sapphire, but regardless, I still think it's a pretty good one. And it came in the starter deck of all things. So I'm going to put her in B. And surprisingly, characters with 6 health are really hard to take out. So that's always good. Next up is an action card, Just in Time. This is a 3-cost uninkable. With the ability, you may play a character with cost 5 or less for free. I really don't know how to feel about this one. Real fast, let me get rid of the princess classification. Let me look at the 5 costs in Amber. So there are a decent amount of 5-cost characters, but at the same time, there's so much better use of your 3 costs, of your 3 ink at that point. You can play Spectacular Singer Ariel. You can play Doc, where he quests and you can reduce an ink cost by 1. You can play the Bodyguard Baloo. You can play Julieta Madrigal for healing and card draw. You can play the Bodyguard Donald Duck Musketeer to give a chosen character +1 lore. There's just so much more you can do with 3 ink than play Just in Time. So I'm going to give Just in Time an F. It was decent. It was decent synergy when the set first came out, especially with that 5-cost Maleficent, which we'll get to. But now, unlike our next card, Part of Your World. This is a 3-cost uninkable that can be sung with a character of cost 3 or more. With the ability, return a character card from your discard to your hand. So this is basically Hades' Lord of the Underworld's ability, just in an action card, and more importantly, in a song card. I don't think it's the greatest action card to ever exist, but you know what? It's a pretty good ability. And the fact that you can sing it is very, very nice. Now, would you be able to use an early game character like the Ballroom Sensation Cinderella to be able to sing this early? Probably not, but I think in some weird version of a hyper aggro deck, I think this could work. So I'm going to go ahead and give this one a B. I'll put it in the same, literally right beside that Hades. Next up, we have Lantern. We have our first item. This is a 2-cost uninkable item. With the ability, exert it to pay 1 ink less for the next character you play this turn. This one is super powerful, especially early game. This one is super, super powerful. The best combo that I can use this for in hyper aggro is play a 1-cost character on turn 1. On the second turn, do my ink, pay 2 to play the Lantern, and then exert the Lantern to play another 1-cost character for free. This is super powerful. It used to be very necessary back in the day, but I don't think it has that status anymore. I think that now that we have characters where when they quest or when they exert, they can reduce ink cost, I think that this has sort of gone down from an S tier into an A tier. I think if you're like, if you have some spare room for uninkables, I think it's a decent option to have. Our final item, Ursula's Shell Necklace. This is a 3-cost uninkable with the ability, whenever you play a song, you may pay 1 ink to draw a card. There's so many better ways to use your 3 ink. It always baffles me, the cards that like are uninkable and then you play them and you still have to pay ink. Just get your card draw somewhere else. This one, I can't even find it on my tier list. Here it is. This one goes in F. Very limited use on this one. Next up, we're moving on to Amethyst. Dr. Facilier, Agent Provocateur. Why did I say it like that? 7-cost uninkable, 4 strength and 5 willpower. Quest for 3 lore. Shifts for 5 with the ability Into the Shadows. Whenever one of your other characters is banished in a challenge, you may return that card to your hand. If this card had Ward, it would be broken. But as it stands, early on, this was a fantastic tool. Just to keep characters coming back to your hand, you can replay them. In Hyper Aggro, he was fantastic. With the 2-cost Facilier that challenged for 2, it was a decent option to recover from that card. Now, you can play, and then along came Zeus, and he's gone. But not every deck has that, and if you don't exert him, he's protected for the most part. So, I don't know. I'm gonna put him as a B. I don't think he's good in every scenario, but he's still really freaking good. And we have another Dr. Facilier card, the Remarkable Gentleman. This is a 3-cost inkable, 2 strength, 4 willpower, and quest for 1 with the ability Dreams Made Real. Whenever you play a song, you may look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put one on the top of your deck and the other on the bottom. So he basically does Ursula's Cauldron, but whenever you play a song. It's hyper situational, and the use you get out of it is very limited. So he's gonna go in D. Up next is Flotsam, Ursula's Spy. This is a 5-cost uninkable with 3 strength and 4 willpower. He quests for 2, gets Rush. With the ability Dexterous Lunge, your characters named Jetsam gain Rush. Now, Lorcana so desperately wants this big synergy with Flotsam and Jetsam, but we never got that. Let me type in both of them. In total, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards named Flotsam, Jetsam, or in one case, both. So really, the power for this character is not there quite yet. And 3 strength is okay for a rush character, I guess. But now we have stronger options. Like we have, Madame M. Fox, she's a 3-cost and inkable. I think the fact that this is uninkable really drags it down for me. So I'm gonna put Flotsam in D. Yeah, super situational, not a huge fan. Jafar, Keeper of Secrets. This is a 4-cost inkable with 0 strength and 5 willpower, quest for 2. With the ability Hidden Wonders, this character gets +1 attack, or +1 strength, sorry, for each card in your hand. That's not bad, but you gotta think. By the time, I have some spare cards here. By the time you get to your 4th turn, and you play, actually, I lied. You play him on your 4th turn. So I'm on my hypothetical turn 4, and Jafar's on the board. By the time I drew on turn 5 and I'm ready to play him, I have 3 cards in my hand. Assuming I didn't use anything like Friends on the Other Side or something. So you really have to manipulate your deck in order to get the best benefit out of him. Now, I know we have the Striking Illusionist Jafar, and you can play you can shift him on top of this character and play Whole New World to gain extra. But you shifted on top of him. So the card draw is pointless other than gaining the lore. But I don't know. I think if you could really manipulate the deck, I think you could get a lot of use out of him. But as it stands, there are better options regarding cards in hand. So I'm going to do D for him. All right, Maleficent Biding Her Time. This is a 1-cost uninkable with 1 strength, 1 willpower, and quest for 2. She is the same as Lilo. And if you were around for the beginning, when she was $15, and you had someone play both Lilo and her in their deck, you knew how much of a pain in the butt she is. But I'm going to put her in the same spot as Lilo, because yeah, Maleficent has some shiftable characters, and Amethyst is leaning more towards the hyper aggro side, especially with that 2-cost Pinocchio, but still, it's the same thing. Here we have Zeus, God of Lightning. This is a 4-cost uninkable with 0 strength, 4 willpower, and quest for 2. The ability to rush, and gains Challenger +4. So this is a pretty strong card. And I love that, like, once you're done with him, you can still quest for 2 lore. I think that's fantastic. It does suck that you don't damage the opponent when they're attacking you after you quest. But you know what? He was a good option when we first started. So as far as ranking him, I'm gonna give him... I'm gonna put him in C. He's a decent Amethyst option. Now we have Magic Mirror. Oh goody, this card. This is a 2-cost uninkable with the ability to exert and pay for ink to draw a card. Just play Friends on the Other Side. Just play Finders Keepers. They draw more cards, and they're cheaper, and they're inkable. You have to be really ramping in order to sacrifice 4 ink to draw a card. In that case, just play the Queen. The super rare Queen from set 1. Where you exert her and she draws a card for free. And you can still use your ink. You know what? F. Hate that freaking card, man. And next up is White Rabbit's Pocket Watch. This is a 3-cost inkable item with the ability exert and pay 1 ink in order to give chosen character Rush. Now, when Rise of the Floodborn came along, I had a really good synergy with this card in a Amethyst Ruby deck that revolved around Peter Pan's Shadow and Rush characters. I really want to build that deck again because it was a ton of fun. But I digress. This one's okay. For the most part, you're not going to want to give a lot of your characters Rush, especially if they're a strong quester. But you know what? This is okay. There are certain situations where you can make it work, and the ability to do Rush and surprise your opponents is always a good time. C. I'm putting it in C. All right. Emerald. In the Emerald City. We're starting off with Cruella de Vil. 2-cost inkable, 1 strength, 3 willpower, and quest for 1. With the ability, You'll Be Sorry! When this character is challenged and banished, you may return chosen character to their player's hand. It's okay. It's fine. Back then, we didn't establish Emerald as a bounce deck, so I think she could be a little useful, but 1 strength is not enough to truly punish those opponents. And now that we have more bounce cards that can benefit your opponent, this almost seems like it could backfire in a way. So Cruella de Vil is going in C. It's fine. Genie, Powers Unleashed. This is an 8-cost uninkable, 3 strength, 5 willpower, and quest for 3. He shifts for 6, and he's evasive. With the ability Phenomenal Cosmic Power, whenever this character quests, You may play an action with cost 5 or less for free. Okay, so we are filtering actions that are 5 or less. Alright, so you can play a card like... Nowadays, you can play a card like Revive. You can play a card like You Have Forgotten Me to punish your opponents. Wait, we're looking at Emerald. You can play You Came Back, so you can ready him up and quest him again. Actually! Oh, that's broken! You can do Remember Who You Are, Night Howler Rage, Pack Tactics, Steal from the Rich. You know, there's a Hypnotize. I really need to try this card again, because this one could be extremely powerful. Again, I don't have a lot of experience with it. I'm going to put him in B for now, but stay tuned. I want to try him again, because this was not a card you saw a lot back in the day. Hans, Scheming Prince. 4 cost Inkable, 3 strength, 3 willpower, quest for 3 lore, and vanilla. My only issue with him is that he has decent questing power, but at the same time, someone plays a smash and he's out of the game. So I'm gonna put him in B, I think. C. I'm gonna put him in C, because there are some characters where you can shift on turn 4 instead of playing him, but he's not a bad option. Iago, Loudmouth Parrot. This is a 3 cost Inkable with 1 strength, 4 willpower, and quest for 1. With the ability You Got a Problem, you exert him, and chosen character gains Reckless during their next turn. So, Reckless is a funny thing, because Reckless does stop a character from questing, but I almost feel like because you're exerting him and giving a character Reckless, now, unless you ready him up somehow, they're going to attack Iago. And you're almost punishing yourself, and 1 strength is not enough to punish the opponent back. I feel like if his stats were like 3 strength, 2 willpower, I think that would have worked a lot better. So I'm going to put him, actually, I'm going to put him in F. Borderline useless. Kuzco. Oh ho ho ho. Another $15 card back in the day. That is now 29 cents. What the hell? This is a 5 cost uninkable with 2 strength and 4 willpower. Quest for 3 lore. Has ward and the ability No Touchy. When this character is challenged and banished, you may banish the challenging character. This was super powerful back in the day. Now I feel like there's more options to get rid of him, especially like they're coming out with abilities that allow you to take out warded characters, such as multi-attack action cards and stuff like Lady Tremaine from set 2, where the opponent chooses a character, getting around that ward. But I still think he's super powerful, and if you're able to get him for 29 cents, I think he's a good option. Really shows the spirit of Emerald. I'm going to put him in A. Lady Tremaine. I'm not talking about that one, by the way. 6 cost uninkable, 1 strength, 5 willpower, and quest for 1. With the ability Do It Again. When you play this character, you may return an action card from your discard to your hand. I think there are better ways to get an action card back that doesn't require an uninkable character with 1 strength and questing for 1. That is one of the weakest 6 cost characters I've ever seen. So I'm gonna put it in D, because I guess it's fine to bring an action back, but you want a stronger character? Oh, and by the way, we have its companion card, Do It Again. 3 cost uninkable, return action card from your discard to your hand. I'm going to actually put this side by side at D. Finally in Emerald, Steal from the Rich. This is a 5 cost uninkable action. Whenever one of your characters quests this turn, Each opponent loses 1 lore. This really depends on how many characters you have on the field and how aggressive your opponent is. You don't really play hyper aggro with Emerald, so it's kind of limited in its uses, but still, if you're able to fire it, it's pretty okay. So I'm going to put it solidly in C tier. All right, let's go for Ruby. We're starting off with Captain Hook, Ruthless Pirate. This is a 7-cost uninkable with 5 strength, 5 willpower, and quest for 2 lore. It has rush and the ability, you coward. While this character is exerted, opposing characters with evasive gain reckless. See, I liked this ability. I liked this ability a lot, but with him being a 7 cost and not being able to shift, it just loses so much from there. So, and it's situational because your opponent has to be playing evasive characters. D, sorry, LeFou, Instigator. 2-cost inkable, 2 strength, 2 willpower, quest for 1, and when you play this character, ready chosen character, they can't quest for the rest of this turn. So you get a free Fan the Flames action. I had a really powerful combo with this card in set 2 where I had the Ruby Simba that was a 2-cost 1/1 and quested for 3. On turn 2 I would play Simba, I would quest him and then lay down LeFou to ready Simba up and protect him. So I think this one can be really good in a lot of situations, and it gets a free character on the field, so B. Yeah, I'm putting him solidly in B. Now for Maui, hero to all. 5-cost inkable, 6 strength, 5 willpower, has rush and reckless. This is one of the most powerful rush characters. 6 strength is a lot. We typically don't see rush characters that are inkable, so that's another huge advantage. And yes, he's reckless. Yes, he doesn't cost any lore, but you know what? Locations don't damage Maui. Even if you're able to use him to get a couple characters off the board, great. He's incredibly useful. He's incredibly strong, and I feel very, very comfortable putting Maui, hero to all, as our first S tier card. He's still used today for a very good reason. He is phenomenal. Now for Scar, Shameless Firebrand. This is an 8-cost uninkable, 6 strength, 6 willpower, and shifts for 6. Quest for 1. With the ability Rousing Speech. When you play this character, ready your characters with cost 3 or less. They can't quest for the rest of this turn. I like this card in theory, but I've never seen anyone play it. It's very situational to fire it off because your characters with cost 3 or less are usually your weaker characters, and by turn, benefit of the doubt, 6 when you shift him, a lot of those characters are gone. So I'm gonna put him in D. So now we have Stitch Abomination. This is a 6-cost inkable, 4 strength, 6 willpower, and quest for 3, and he's a vanilla. This is a pretty strong card. I think if you have nothing else, you can play him, but I'm going to put him in the same camp as Han, Scheming Prince, which is a C. Next up is Be Prepared. This is a 7-cost uninkable that a character with cost 7 or more can sing for free. Banish all characters, including your own. I didn't even need to explain this card to you, because if you have played against this card, if you were on the verge of winning and this card got pulled on you, it's stuck in your memory. Yes, it's great for like a complete board reset, but I almost feel like you need to sing it in order to have a true advantage. Otherwise, your opponent can come in next turn, start playing characters on the board. Now, if they're down to like 1 card, I think and you have like 4 cards in your hand, I think that's a different story. This is a pure desperation move though. It would be A tier, if it would reliably get you wins, but it doesn't. So I would say B. And only B, because I would put it in A if it was required for you to have like 4 of them in your deck, but it's not. I only put like 2 at a time. Next up is Poisoned Apple. This is a 3-cost uninkable item with the ability Take a Bite. You pay 1 ink and banish the item to exert chosen character. If a princess character is chosen, banish her instead. This is so situational that it's borderline useless. F. Same thing with Sword of Truth. This is a 4-cost uninkable item. Banish this item to banish chosen villain character. Just pay 1 more and play Dragonfire. Dragonfire is a 5-cost and it's still uninkable. Why did I put Poison Apple in D? No, you go in F and you also go in F. Useless. Alright, moving on to Sapphire, which is good because my phone's at 15%. We have Ariel, Who's It Collector. This is a 4-cost uninkable with 3 strength and 3 willpower and quest for 1. With the ability, Look at this stuff. Whenever you play an item, you may ready this character. Unfortunately, item decks have been becoming very popular, but she's not in a lot of them. If anything, you would play that one Sapphire Ariel that came out for set 5, where if you have more items on the field than your opponent, she would gain like 2 extra lore for a total questing power of 5. So yeah, there's just a lot better options. D. Next up, we have Jasmine, Queen of Agrabah. This is my wife's favorite card. This is a 5-cost inkable, 2 strength, 5 willpower, and shifts for 3, with the ability and quest for 2. She has the ability Caretaker. When you play this character and whenever she quests, you may remove up to 2 damage from each of your characters. This is a lot of healing. It's lots of healing. It's surprise healing as well because it's on play. Potentially, if you shift her, you can heal up to 4 damage from all your characters, and that is phenomenal. It also synergizes really well with Grandpappy, but I'm not really looking at synergies. I'm looking at the cards sort of on their own. And on her own, she's fantastic. I'm putting her in A. I don't care what anyone says. She's going in A. Now Maleficent, Uninvited. 5-cost inkable, 3 strength, 6 willpower, and quest for 3, and she's vanilla. Now, you would expect me to put her in the same tier as Stitch and Hans, but no, because 6 health is a lot to deal with. And yes, Stitch is fine, but Maleficent, you can get her out earlier. So typically these cards would go in C tier, but I'm comfortable putting her in B tier. She's fantastic. Again, I remember when she was like $2, and now what did it say she was at? 16 cents. Good God. On to Maurice. Raving like a lunatic. 6-cost inkable, 2 strength, 7 willpower, and quest for 2. With 2 abilities. First is Give It a Try. Whenever this character quests, you pay 2 ink less for the next item you play this turn. And it works! Whenever you play an item, you may draw a card. This is a very powerful engine if you're playing items. I think you could make it work, but he's not like the most necessary character in an item deck right now because the meta is Azurite C. Oswald, the Lucky Rabbit, is that high tier person for an item deck. But Maurice is still a pretty good option if you don't have Oswald. The only downside is that he costs 6 to play, and by that time you should have a lot of items on your field, especially cards like Fortisphere or Popsicle or Fishbone Quill. I still think he's okay. I'll put him in C. Star Mastermind. This is a 6-cost inkable with 5 strength and 4 willpower, quest for 2. With the ability, when you play this character, give chosen opposing character -5 strength this turn. Again, I liked this card in concept. Just like the other Star card. I like with this I liked this card in concept, but it's just okay. I actually think there's a Maid Marian card that does the same thing. Yeah, it's not in Sapphire, it's in Amber, but this Maid Marian flips the strength and willpower and gives the chosen opposing character -5 strength until the start of your next turn. So this one's just kind of kind of weak. D. Item card if it's not Baroque. This is a 3-cost uninkable action to return an item card from your discard to your hand. There are so many better cards to use to bring an item back to your hand. Even if you play Gyro Gearloose, which is I don't recommend that card. It's still better than this because you can fire him off multiple times. If it's not Baroque, is an F. Barely worth it. Let it go. I'm sorry, parents. And I'm sorry, anybody with ears. This is a 5-cost inkable song, so a character with cost 5 or more can sing this song for free. Put chosen character into their player's inkwell, face down, and exerted. This is still a very powerful card. It's not used as often, but what people are doing now is because it says chosen character, not chosen opposing character, they're using this card to put their own characters into their inkwell. So it's very versatile as a ramping tool or a destruction tool. I'm blanking on the term I'm looking for right now. This used to be necessary in Sapphire decks. Now, it's just fine. But for that versatility, I think I'm going to put it in B. It is one of the only removal tools. That's what I was trying to think of in Sapphire. And finally, we have Fishbone Quill. This card. This is a 3-cost inkable item with the ability to exert and put any card from your hand into your inkwell face down. No question, S tier. Sapphire is so reliant on ramping because Fishbone Quill can be used to put uninkable cards from your hand into your inkwell. It can get you out of a lot of jams. And if you use Oswald or even the Queen Deceiver card, you can get that out early and for free. And that's a very powerful tool going forward. Especially with all the, when you put a card into your inkwell, synergies that came up during Azurite Sea. So, yeah, freaking S tier. Alright, home stretch. Captain Hook, Captain of the Jolly Roger. This is a 4-cost uninkable, 3 strength, and 4 willpower. Quest for 1 with the ability double the powder. When you play this character, you may return an action card named Fire the Cannons from your discard to your hand. At least he has more strength and willpower combined than Lady Tremaine, but it's also very situational because it's only Fire the Cannons. And Fire the Cannons is a great card, but Fire the Cannons, very limited. And if you don't have Fire the Cannons, this card's useless. So I'm comfortable. At least with Lady Tremaine, you can bring back any action. With Captain Hook, it's only one action. F. There are so many better cards to play. Oh, and we're still at Captain Hook. So this is Captain Hook thinking a happy thought. This is a 5-cost uninkable with 2 strength, 5 willpower, quest for 1. He's able to shift for 3 ink. He has Challenger +3, and the ability Stolen Dust. Characters with cost 3 or less can't challenge this character. The more I think about it, the more of a powerful card I think this is. My only gripe with cards with the characters with cost 3 or less can't challenge this character is that if they can't challenge him, their only option is to just quest, and all of a sudden, your opponent's now ahead. You're not taunting them trying to attack your exerted character. But the Challenger +3 is really nice. I wish he quested for more, but Captain Hook tends to be a character where he's more used to challenge other characters rather than quest. So I'm going to actually put him in A. I think he's actually pretty good the more I think about it. Almost there. Next, Maui, Demigod. This is an 8-cost inkable with 8 strength, 8 willpower, quest for 3, and he's vanilla. Just like the other vanilla cards, I'm putting him in C. I think if you were playing a Sapphire Steel deck and you were able to ramp up to him, fantastic. But, play Tamatoa. Play items. It's super strong. Next up is Mickey Mouse Musketeer. This is a 6-cost inkable with 2 strength, 7 willpower, quest for 2, has bodyguard, and the ability all for 1, where your other Musketeer characters get +1 attack. 2 strength on a 6-cost bodyguard is wild. But he's okay. I have my gripes with Musketeer decks, because all of the Musketeers are bodyguards and synergize with bodyguards. So what's the point in having bodyguards in your deck if every bodyguard is a bodyguard canceling each other out? See, and here is Simba, Returned King. 7-cost inkable with 4 strength, 6 willpower, quest for 2, has challenger +4, and the ability Pounce. During your turn, this character gains evasive. That's pretty strong, especially against evasive characters. Back in the day, he was really the only removal tool for evasive characters as far as like a character. You obviously had stuff like Fire the Cannons and Smash and Grab Your Sword, but if you could get him out, especially with some Sapphire ramping, it was fantastic. But he's not really used anymore, and there are better 7-cost options. I'm still gonna put him in B. Alright, we're finishing off strong. We're done with the characters. On to those actions. First up is Grab Your Sword. This is a 5-cost uninkable action. It's a song, so a character with cost 5 or more can exert to sing the song for free to deal 2 damage to each opposing character. This is very powerful. This was like one of the essential cards in Steel Song, like early Steel Song, and it sees a lot of use still today. It's pretty powerful, especially if you have multiples. It's great for finishing off opposing characters, and it gets around ward, it gets around evasive, so it's still a very powerful tool. I think I'm gonna give it same grade I did Be Prepared. I'm gonna give it a B. I don't think you need all 4 cards in here. I think you need like 2 or 3 and you're set. Combine it with some other removal options like a Smash. Next up is Musketeer Tabard. This is a 4-cost uninkable item with the ability all for 1 and 1 for all. Whenever one of your characters with bodyguard is banished, you may draw a card. It relies on you playing bodyguards. I get why it's here, but man, it's still a D. It's a D. Only because it allows you to draw a card, and for free. Then finally, we have Plasma Blaster. This is a 3-cost uninkable item with the ability Quick Shot, where you exert and pay 2 ink to deal 1 damage to chosen character. Now this sounds very weak, but at the same time, there are a lot of synergies that make good use of it. But there are also other characters now where you can play them and deal 1 damage to a chosen character or location. So it's not as powerful as it sounds. I'm going to put it in D. So here it is. This is our tier list for the Set 1 Lorcana First Chapter Rares. Some of the best cards we have Maui, Hero of All, Fishbone Quill as our top 2 cards. So I hope you enjoyed this. The way we're going to structure these videos is for each set, I'm going to do 1 video for the rares, And then the second video for the set will be super rares and legendaries smashed together. Because the super rares and the legendaries combined have a smaller number than the rares in the deck, so I just think that would be the most efficient. We're going to do this all the way up to the current set and future sets moving forward. So if you like what you see, make sure you're liking and subscribing, and I hope to catch you Lumineers on the other side. Thank you so much. Have a great night.